what would you see as the main conditions that are essential for effective cultures of collaboration?
Yeah, for me, it goes beyond sharing. So the one difference that I notice a lot in schools is there are teams that will share what they're doing and they're really open about it. There's like a lot of, spirit behind that. And I think that's great. Like, I think sharing is so important. We all value sharing. But I think the elements of collaboration elevate sharing to the point where you're saying to yourselves, how are we inquiring, and is there a collective inquiry into how well our work is progressing student learning? And we get really curious about that. We say to ourselves, let's collaborate over new ideas and innovate together and bounce ideas around and challenge one another. And that's beyond sharing. That's real collective inquiry. And then really test out ideas, like, set a goal and say to ourselves, well, how might we reach this goal and achieve greater results? And how do we, really engage in sort of our own case studies of the work that we're doing? And how do we continue to collaborate through our analysis of, say, our assessments of student learning to constantly keep us in the present tense and respond to students in the present tense and feed off one another's thought processes in order to intervene and help students that might be struggling and help students, reach their fullest enriched potentials. So I think collaboration is best indicated by seeing those things happening in those team meetings where there's a lot of inquiry, there's a lot of questioning, there's a lot of, feeding off one another's ideas and building up off those ideas and then testing out those ideas and, just sort of allowing for that level of innovation to bring a lot of fresh air into the work that we do with students. And I think those are the best teams that I've ever been on. That said, teams go through a process, there's a continuum, and I never shy away from that. It's all easier said than done. And it takes a while for a team to come together to learn to collaborate at that level. And there are definitely days where it feels more like sharing, but sharing's important to get to collaboration.
I'm not even sure where to start because you said so many things I wanted to comment. But I will say that I think teams always have really good intentions of collaborating in a meaningful way. But I think what gets in the way sometimes is they're not sure what they should be focused on. So I know we teach that a lot of the focus of teams, maybe not all of it, should be on the 4 critical questions of a professional learning community. Really, what is it we want students to learn? Digging deeply into that. And like I said, the standards can be very nuanced. So what are we looking for within each one of those essential standards that we might have outlined as something we want to ensure students know? So that can take a lot of a team's time to get clear on that. And then, how are we going to know? So those assessments that whether they're quick check-in points or they're more formalized, maybe more in-depth assessments. And then what are we going to do, if students don't learn? And then 4, what about kids who come in and need something a little bit more, maybe some extension or even acceleration? So if teams can keep the focus on those questions most of the time, I think they're going to have those types of conversations that you heard Mark talking about, those conversations that challenge each other to think a little bit differently. That's, again, where the collective wisdom of the team comes in. But teams have to get past or beyond what is comfortable. I think there's just things that people tend to go to because they're comfortable. It's comfortable talking about instruction, but it's not as comfortable putting data in front of each other. That vulnerability you were talking about, that's a little bit uncomfortable. So we really need brave educators who are willing to say, you know what, my data maybe doesn't look as good as yours. What can I learn from you? How can we all learn from this? That's the type of collaboration that we always wanted to see in our district. it's hard to get there. It's really hard to get there.
Yeah.
And there has to be some, like you said, learning, and let's try this. I think there's this myth out there that we have to build trust before we can put data in front of each other. But in reality, putting data in front of each other and seeing that nothing bad happens when we do that builds trust.
Yes.
Right. So I think that's really what I think I'm still working on with a lot of school districts across the country is let's really get people to be more comfortable being uncomfortable sometimes,
Yeah.
to get past that.